Now, without without further ado, Short Box Nation, let's welcome comic writer Zack Kaplan to the show. Actually, I should say back to the show because this is officially his third or fourth time back on. But let's welcome Zack Kaplan. What up, Zack? Welcome back.
Hello.
Good to
to be
see you,
back.
man.
Good to see
Hell
you.
yeah, man. It feels right. You know, I get to brag about some Jack's boys doing the damn thing in comic books, making great comic books, and being successful at it.
Thank you. Yes. Go Jacksonville.
Zack, is this? I'm assuming where you're recording from your office.
Yeah, I'm in Los Angeles now. Yes.
Your background, for the audio listeners, check out the video if you want to see Zack's epic background. But I'm like trying to pay attention to you, but then also like see what books I recognize and everything.
There's
You
a
got
ton.
a killer library, man.
There's a ton. You know, I mean, I was already a comic reader, but when you start making them, then you just got to read a lot more. So, yeah, I needed a way to hold it all. So, several years ago, I upgraded the bookshelf and very happy with it. So, yeah.
Do you find it easier to make time to read comics now versus like when you were like first starting?
It's much harder. It's much harder. But there's reading for pleasure's sake, which I do get to do on occasion, but then there's reading for research sake. And I think that I do a lot of reading for research sake. I want to see what else is working in any subgenre that I work with, or, you know, just trying to, if there's a particular comic creator and they do something particularly well, and I'm trying to emulate it or find my own style in that, I'll dive into their work. So yeah, it helps to kind of be able to go, let me slide this one off. Let me slide that one off. Let me take a look at this. I want to do some more double page spreads in this series. Let me study double page spreads. Let me study this. So yeah, but in terms of like just enjoying comics, there's a lot going on. So I do get to read, but not as much as I'd like to, for sure.
I bet. I say the same thing about like podcasting. Is prior to doing a podcast, I used to listen to like that was like my main, audio consumption, whether it was like Fat Man on Batman or Juan Ep or some other podcast. Now, as someone that like spends close to 15, 20 hours a week working on the podcast, I'm like very picky about which ones I listen to, and just finding time to like actually like turn my brain off from a editor standpoint, which is maybe the toughest part, is like trying to just enjoy a show without being like, oh, I really like the way they did that transition.
Yeah.
Oh, that
I don't even know if I can. Can you even turn your brain off once you're like in the? I feel like
no.
I can't help but have a study component to, like, even if I pick up something new, even if I'm excited to read something new, I can't help but analyzing and thinking about the form or the craft. Like if I lose myself in something, then I know it's doing it. And I do lose myself in a few comics still, but it's doing a damn good job if I lose myself in it, because a lot of times I'm just, so I'm assuming it's the same way. But like when you're in something so much, then you're it's hard to go back and just enjoy it.
Do you mind, I guess, what comes to mind when you think about like the last comic or book or whatever it may be that like, gave you that feeling of like, wow, from both an enjoyment standpoint and a technical, professional writer standpoint, this is hitting on all cylinders?
That I lost myself in, or that I
that you just lost
geeked out on? Because I feel like they're different. I mean, like, it's a good question. I mean, geeking out, they're Pornsak and I want to say Jesse Lagerman.
Lonergan, yeah,
Lonergan. Their Man's Best was pretty inventive. Oh, and then Dennis Camp's new Martian Manhunter. That was pretty inventive and pretty like, damn, the form at its highest level. So like those were a couple books that I geeked out on. In terms of like, but I wasn't losing myself. I was like joyfully absorbing the craft at a high level. In terms of like losing myself, like I don't know. It's been a while. I'd have to get back to you on that one.
Okay, let me ask you this, because I see you got a Star Wars Thrawn book on your shelf in the top,
I do.
probably left or right, and that is a book that I have been looking for like crazy. I know I could buy it off Amazon, but Zack, I have this I've had this like New Year's resolution that's been going on like 2-3 years now. Well, it's more like a goal where I've been trying to read more books, more books, and it started out as like one book a quarter, to get like back into it, and then it's almost like a muscle, right? Like as I got back into like reading full length novels and prose, I just started like getting better at reading. I got faster, I'm like, now I want to read, consume everything. But one of the limitations I had, because I already have way too many books as is my rule is, I'm trying to read stuff that I've already bought, but if it's something new that I don't own, I have to buy it secondhand. It's got to be used, and it has to be from like a local bookstore, which in our case, as you might know, we got Chamlin's Book Mine. So they usually have every book you could possibly imagine. But for some reason, and they have a dedicated Star Wars section, I cannot find the Star Wars Thrawn book. And Amazon is so tempting, right? It's like, you get it for $8, it'll be there tomorrow. But I'm holding fast. But anyways, I
You
bring up
should
the
hold on because
I will.
well, I got it from Timothy Zahn himself at a convention, and he's
Whoa.
been doing a few conventions,
Yeah,
and
yeah. He has.
he is a writer that's near and dear to my heart because I remember his very first 3 Star Wars books, which came out when I was much younger, and it was the first time that the Star Wars universe had been allowed to be expanded past the movies, and they gave Timothy Zahn the chance to write 3 books, and those books were just so fantastic. He created Thrawn,
Yeah.
and just really, really great sci-fi storytelling, and so I had to pick up Thrawn. But yeah, he has been doing conventions. So if you want to talk about an opportunity, what better way? Track him down at a convention at a Comic-Con, and maybe you can get it right from him. I wonder
Yeah.
if he'll do MegaCon or Dragon Con or one of the ones in the South area. But yeah,
I want to say he attended Collective Con either this year or last year, and I just missed him. But that's a really good that's a good recommendation. But I
yeah.
bring up Star Wars because I gotta ask, man, are you watching? Did you watch Andor?
I'm 1 episode shy from finishing season
Cool.
2, so I
Okay,
haven't
there we
watched the
go. Yeah.
finale
No
yet. So
spoilers.
don't
No spoilers.
spoilers.
I won't.
Yeah,
But that's, I think, a good example of this question here is like, to me, as a non-professional writer, I think the writing in that is so good, from the dialogue, the character motivations, the interactions, the motives, and all of that. I'm curious to hear, and it sounds like you're a big Star Wars
oh
fan
yeah.
too.
I mean,
How are you liking Andor?
it's fantastic. It's brilliant storytelling and it's brilliant writing. But I mean, the funny thing is, like, it's really good, but it's also not totally very Star Wars.
Hmm.
Like, there's no aliens. I mean, I guess you see them in the background. There's no Jedis, there's no lightsabers. I mean, at the end of the day, it's really a spy thriller.
For
It's
sure.
just a straight spy thriller. It's about a spy cell and their ongoings over several years. And it's done very well, but the only thing that's groundbreaking about it is the idea of doing a story like that in Star Wars.
Hmm.
And so I'm really excited that they did that. That they said, "Hey, why don't we do uh, a spy thriller in Star Wars? Why do we have to lose ourselves in the fantasy? Why can't we do a very real, grounded, edgy action thriller?" So I hope they learn, even though I think Andor's not going to do any more. I hope they do more stuff like this because it's awesome. It's amazing to see just that. But
And I
yeah,
think that's actually exactly why I like it, is that it's a different perspective, a different genre. We're seeing, Star Wars tackle like some different theme, or yeah, I mean, a lot of the themes I think they've tackled in some of the other movies, but I don't know at this level of like, just the on the boots ground, soldiers, the backstabbing, the espionage. I don't know. It feels really fresh, and maybe that's and I think to your point, it being, I don't know, just like a different flavor in Star Wars. I think this was like something refreshing to me,
totally.
and
I
and it
I
doesn't
agree.
hurt too that I learned the other day that and I'm drawing a blank on their name, but some of the writers for the Bourne series, are heavily involved. I think it's like Troy Gilmore, or I'll find the name, but once I heard that or learned that, I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. It kind of feels like a Jason Bourne movie set in Star Wars.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different writers and different voices in there. I recognize the name Bo Willimon who I had seen speak. He did House of Cards. He was one of the big
one of my
writers on
favorite
House
shows.
of Cards. And so that's, I guess, kind of like a political power drama, you know. So he brought a lot of that to one of, I think he did 3 of the episodes. I think he did the second one. But yeah, they got some great talented writers and directors on the series, and it's awesome. I hope they do more stuff like that for sure.
Agreed. All right, Zach, I want to bring up. Do you remember the last time that you were on the podcast at all? And it's okay if not. I mean, it's been
it was
a lot of years.
Pre-pandemic, I think. Was it pre-pandemic?
Super pre-pandemic. So if I'm to go in order of your short box appearances, your first appearance was way back in 2016 for episode 150. You were a guest at the Hall of Heroes convention.
Yeah.
And we happened to, and this is actually one of my favorite stories when I think of you, I always think of this story. You were a guest at the Hall of Heroes convention, and which was like its first year. It was like up and coming. I don't know if it's still around, if I'm quite honest, but it was like first of its kind of thing for Jax. You were a guest there, and we met at Hall of Heroes with my co-host Cesar, and we are like, hey man, we'd love to, introduce you. I want to say Eclipse had just come out.
That's
and
right.
All of that. And you were like, hey, I can actually record an in-person interview. I think it was like a Sunday. You were like, hey, I'm flying out Monday, or something like that. I can come before my flight. And you came with your mom. I think she was like driving you to the airport. And your mom sat in.
She was probably driving me to the airport. So
she was. Yeah.
My ride, yeah.
But she sat in. I remember, this was like my small 1-bedroom, apartment. She sat on the couch, and I remember her just being so prideful. I think she took pictures. I think
probably.
I want to say she went to like some of the shops at the time, was telling them all about the Eclipse.
I
remember thinking like, man, that is, that's exactly what my mom would do, And I remember just thinking that was such a awesome moment. Well, like, what's your mom think about your career now, considering it's been, going on damn near 9 years and you've had so much success since then?
Yeah. I mean, both my folks have been very supportive and, very happy for me. And, they're it's hard to.
Do they have a favorite? Do they have a favorite series of yours?
I don't think so. They're always rooting me on, and they're always, listening to whatever war story I'm currently telling or currently in the middle of. But yeah, I mean the comics business is a hustle. It's a grind. I've been very I'm very grateful for the success that I've had, but it's a grind. And so they're on the inside with me. They get to hear.
That's cool.
They get to hear about the grind. But yeah, they're very. I mean, it's a weird. But the thing is, like, I went to film school. I went to USC. I got my master's in screenwriting. I came out for a decade. I was doing all sorts of things in the film and TV industry, trying to make it in that business, and I never got anything made. But I had a whole lot of things in development, a whole lot of work, and it was only by kind of serendipity that I fell into comics. I'd always wanted to do one. I got the chance to do one, and I dove all in. I don't think they really knew what I was doing. I mean, when I was even doing Eclipse, when I was even there, it was cool because I had never been interviewed, until Eclipse came out. And it's like, oh, wow, I have something in store. So it was cool. And it was, they were very proud, but I don't think they could conceive of where I was going with the whole thing. I didn't know where I was going with the whole thing. So I'm sure they couldn't conceive of it. So, it's an interesting biz for sure. But
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, look, tell your mom I said hello. I straight up think about that.
Out of that.
I think about
she'll
that
probably
story.
Remember. I don't think she sat in on too many of my interviews. So she'll probably remember.
I think about that story a lot. But so all right, that was your first appearance, and then you came back on the pod in 2017. It was like episode 186.
Oh, 1 year later. Yeah.
Well, you were there promoting the first issue of Port of Earth.
Yeah.
Eclipse, I think at the time, had just got extended to 8 issues. Little did we know, or at least I knew, that it would go on to 16 issues.
Yeah.
But I was actually listening to that second episode this morning on my way to the barbershop, and you seem to be like finding your footing, especially like in your voice as a new writer. And I guess how, I mean, I know a lot has probably transpired. I mean, we could just, go to 2020 and the COVID years, but thinking back, like, how is your outlook on your career? Like, how do you feel about your career now, especially and like how the industry has changed since then? Like, do you still feel like the new guy? Do you feel like you're figuring it out, or do you feel like, hey, I've kind of got a
20
grasp on
questions.
this?
There's like 20 questions in there.
I know. I
I
am.
mean, yeah, I I've had an interesting career, I think. I think it's I think it's a little unique. Because I really haven't done any big two or any licensed work. Um, and I think that's pretty rare
Yeah.
for
That's a
a
good point.
writer to go. I'm in my ninth year. I've had Masterminds, I think, is going to be my 13th book.
Hmm. Yep.
So I've had quite a run of creator-owned books, and they continue to be successful. And I've got several more in the works for next year. So I'm off to the races. But it's interesting. It's interesting to me to be in this niche. I mean, I've been also very successful with film and TV adaptation opportunities.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't think I'm finding my footing anymore. But and I think back to like when Port of Earth came out, I'd only worked with one publisher. I'd only worked with, two artists.
Hmm.
And so there's, the concept of like, communicating and marketing to retailers. I was still kind of trying to learn the basics there. Social media. I don't even think I totally knew how to use social media back then. I feel like I had not been into social media until I became a comic creator. And then I was like, oh, I gotta use, how do I use Twitter? How do I do these things? So, I mean, there was just so much that I learned, but I think most of all, it was like learning how to try to tell the best story I possibly could. I mean, I think that like every series I've done, I've tried to push myself as a storyteller, tried to use the comic form a lot more. I think in the beginning, like Eclipse and Port of Earth, I was trying to paint really cool worlds, really cool character dilemmas, and really cool, like, thrilling stories. But, as I got going with books like Mindset or Beyond Real or even Breakout, and then certainly, now the Kill All Immortals and some of this, really trying to like play with the form a lot more. How can I deconstruct a layout? How can you know I don't know, there's all sorts of ways that I've tried to just try to, and trying to better understand the nature of kind of episodic storytelling and how to really hook people in with fantastic cliffhangers and make issues stand on their own even more. So I think it's been a learning curve across the board for me, and I'm continuing to try to learn and improve. But I'm happy with the stories that I'm telling now, and I'm excited to get the response that I'm getting. So, and yeah, God, the industry's always changing. It's always going through ups and downs, and I'm not sure where we're at now. Where like there's part up, part down, and
Yeah.
so as a comic creator, you have to adapt. You find the ways to work around some things. So you got to be resilient. I think
Yeah.
I'm 9 years in the comic industry has made me crazy resilient. There are some fires like when you're working on. I mean, I'm working on easily 6-8 books at a time,
Damn.
different phases, something I'm marketing, something I'm just pitching, something I'm just starting with an artist. So just like constant fires, constant things going wrong, constant things you got to deal with. And I think when I was first getting started, it was just not an experience that I had. Now it's just business as usual.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's like, let's go. Yeah, it's okay. Let's handle it. So,
yeah, you put in the I mean, you put in the reps, dude. I gotta say, your bibliography is stacked, and I guess when you break it
thanks.
down like that, 9 years in, you're coming up on your 13th title, and it feels like, from an outsider looking in, and someone that goes to the shop and talks to a shop guy, which we'll hear from here in a sec. Like, it feels like back to. I mean, you're putting out quality stuff. It's not just
Thank
like
you.
13 titles and maybe five, or like lukewarm. It's been like back to back hitters.
Thank
And I'm
you.
hearing this from like other people, my comic shop guys, the people in the shop, other fellow comic podcasters. When you think about the 13 titles and comics that you put out, does any I guess at what point do you feel like it like just clicked? Like, what was the easiest one for you to write because you just felt like, okay, I've got the experience, I know what I'm doing. Like, this is now I'm not gonna say autopilot, but this is I got it.
I mean, Kill All Immortals felt really good.
Hmm.
Kill All Immortals felt really good. I had done when the pandemic hit, I had had a bunch of things fall through and I had to kind of rebuild my plans. And so I came out with 4 new books in 22 and one more in 23. And that was Breakout at Darkhorse, Metal Society at Image, Top Cow, Forever Forward was Scout, Mindset was Vault, and then Beyond Real was Vault. And I think like that was me that was my kind of like sophomore junior
Hmm.
experience in terms of like I'd cut my teeth on some books in the past, but then that was me kind of coming out, kind of trying to do a lot of things. And so I think after that, and then going, okay, what's next? I felt really tuned in. And so I think by the time I got into Kill All Immortals, yeah, and then I think everything that I've had coming out now, Midnight Shadows, which was a Dark Horse book, Dark Empty Void with Mad Cave,
Hmm.
and Masterminds coming out. I feel very dialed in terms of like my ability to understand the scope that I have in a mini series, or the scope I have in an arc, and the scope I have in an issue, and how to elevate the story, and how to. And it was interesting. I mean, like seeing Kill All Immortals really hit. It was my first real action hero. Everything I had done had been like science fiction or like
Yeah.
different worlds, or it was a guy in a sci-fi world. But this was the first like, here's a character who's an action hero who kicks ass, which is a staple in comics. Like it's kind of the primary go-to. The big 2 are built on action heroes, and it feels like some of the biggest books that come off of that, if they're not IP, you look at something like Invincible, you look at
Hmm.
something like God, looking at my bookshelf, I mean, where are the other Lazarus, those, I mean, there are just some like Hellboy, something like that, which was a original creation. Like
Hmm.
action heroes, Erica Slaughter, they're a staple. And so this was my first real try at that, and I feel really good about it. It's been a really great response. It was a big hit for us, and now we've been promoted to be ongoing. And so yeah, I think that was kind of something I wouldn't have thought about doing several years ago, because if you're going to do it, you got to do it right.
Yeah.
But it's felt really good to do it the way we've done it.
I'm glad you said Kill All Immortals was like the one that you felt really confident and even stepped out your comfort zone. Because I ended up, you were kind enough to send me some preview copies of the first arc. And I won't lie, Zach, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to finish all of this before our interview. I'm trying to read this Midnight. This whole week I've been trying to catch up on everything that I've missed out on. So I was reading like the Midnight Shadows. I was reading Dark Empty Void, and then you throw this on my lap. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll pivot and see how far I get. Zach, I killed that like I almost damn near killed it like last night, very late at night. But I actually finished the last issue this afternoon, and I gotta say, hearing you say this was like the one that felt good. It was you stepping out outside your comfort zone. It comes across in the work, man. It feels effortless. It feels like a little more lean, like like where how much dialogue to give,
Yeah,
how much to let the art breathe. And the art looks fucking incredible.
so
Fico,
good. Nico
how do you Ossio?
Ossio, yeah, who's a killer artist
Yeah.
and really just has a knack for
Hmm.
everything going on, everything from the action
Yeah.
to the grounded character work, and kind of this unique world. He's killer. And Thiago Rocha is the colorist, who's a relatively
Yeah.
new voice, but absolutely killer.
Agreed.
And then of course Hassan Otsmane
Yeah.
Elhau is an Eisner winning
All
letterer.
right,
So yeah.
I gotta add, because actually one of my questions was that it seems that you've assembled a pretty damn good team, and I do see some like consistent creators on a lot of the work. One of them being Hassan, who is like one of the
Oh
best
yeah.
letterers in the game. I mean, he's one. Anytime I see his name on a book, I'm probably gonna pick it up because I like his lettering that much. What is it like working with Hassan? How did you guys get
Oh, he's
connected?
he's brilliant. He's brilliant. He's he's so good. I mean, I got him back on Join the Future, which was in
That's right.
2019, where he was still great, but the secret was not out. Now the secret's out and everybody's aware. But I was like,
No, true.
this
His name, his
guy's great. So I've been working with Hassan for about 6 years. He's
mhm,
done roughly half my books. He's absolutely killer. I try to go to him as much as I can. I mean, I've worked with some other
yeah.
great letters too, Justin Birch and DC Hopkins. But yeah, Hassan is worthy of the Eisner win. He's just so creative with
For
the way
sure.
he uses letters on the page.
I wanna stay on Kill All Immortals because I think if anyone is looking for a fresh new series, and then considering that it's coming back for a second, a second arc later this year, I definitely want to push that. The first trade is out. Issues 1 through 5 are collected,
Yeah.
and I love this little byline when it comes to the solicitation.
Yeah.
Succession meets John Wick with Immortal Vikings.
Yeah.
I would also say that if you're a fan of like the Highlander
Yeah.
or the Old Guard or
Yep.
what was that Vin Diesel movie, The Last Witch Hunter or something like that, I think you will absolutely love Kill All Mortals. I mean, the art is awesome, the concept is great. But Zach, I want to hear from you. Like, how would you sell Kill All Mortals for someone that's like, okay, I'm interested. You guys are hyping it up. What is it about?
Yeah, I mean, it's Succession meets John Wick with Vikings, but it's an immortal family. It's a family of Vikings who have discovered a secret. We don't know how, but they become immortal. And now 1,000 years later, they're this massively powerful, barbaric, and murderous billionaire empire. And the only daughter, after a millennia, finally wants out. And to get out, she's got to fight her way through her family. And in the process, she's going to try to uncover their secrets to use as leverage. So it is very much a power drama of this very dynamic family, and our main heroine, Frey Asvald, is trying to fight her way out. And we really tried to, we looked at Erica Slaughter a lot, and we kind of said, okay, she's not Erica Slaughter, but she's an action heroine that we're hoping can rise to the ranks of that comparison. And she's got a very complex story because on the one hand, she comes from this extraordinary family, and she really just kind of wants to be a regular young woman. She doesn't want to be confined. She doesn't want to be forced into this barbaric lifestyle, and she kind of wants her independence. But what will it take to get that? How cutthroat, how brutal will she have to become, and will she even be able to retain her own identity in that process? So it's a really fun kind of exploration of her character. And then, of course, we're looking at immortality as a metaphor for the billionaire class. So one thing I like to do with all my books is kind of say, like, okay, let me find a very specific device like mind control or time travel or simulation theory. And then let me think about the modern way to explore that. And so with immortality, it's like, okay, what's my immortality story? And how does it pertain to what's going on in the world today? And when I look around and go, well, do we have immortality in the world today? I say, yeah, we do. If you're a billionaire,
if you can afford it, yeah.
Yeah, if you're a billionaire, then your name never dies. You and your family live forever, and you get to do whatever you want to do like a god. So yeah, we do have immortals, and they decide the fate of our world, and they kind of just live in the shadows. And we all kind of know that. We all kind of know that there's like a couple thousand people who are billionaires in the world that have so much power and influence that they are like gods, and we are like mere mortals, and we just kind of accept that that's just the way it is. Like, oh yeah. Like, well, no, we're not talking millionaires. We're talking like billionaires. Like, there are these,
Unconceivable.
they're just that powerful. Like, they're that untouchable. Like, where they could probably kill someone, and like we would never know. We would never find out. It would be totally. They would totally, get away with it. It'd be totally okay. So, and this is not politics, it's just the nature of all the world.
Yeah.
Like, so
Speaking some truth.
yeah, so it's like that. So, and then we just thought, okay, well, what family, like, what's the coolest way to look at a family of immortals living present day, and what captures that barbaric, insatiable nature the best, and it was like, oh,
Hmm.
Vikings, that's
Right there.
Vikings.
Yeah.
So let's just make a family of immortal Vikings, and we've had a ton of fun. So like, it's a really compelling character story, and it's got some timely themes to explore, but also at the end of the day, it is just an action book that just kicks ass, and every issue we try to raise the bar with the action sequences, and just continue to like wow people with how crazy we can
Yeah.
get. So yeah, it's been a ton of fun.
Yeah, and I wanna underline just how much ass is kicked in this series.
It's
The
bloody. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
super bloody. Yeah, yeah, it's definitely out there. It's definitely draw I can see the John Wick comparison big time. But
yeah.
and it's awesome to know too that aside from this being like kind of a new direction that you're going and just like a new, something that you're trying something new that you're trying out. The reception too has been great. I mean, you told me that not only has it sold out, they're reprinting it, it's getting a lot of reprints. It's been promoted to ongoing, and then I want to say it might be one of the few Dark Horse series from last
I
year to
think
like
so. I don't
sure.
think there were many Dark Horse series that got
Hmm.
promoted to be ongoing. I feel like it's one of the only ones of last year. So
Yeah.
don't hold me to it. There might be
Sure,
one or
sure.
two others, but it was one of Dark Horse's best books last year. And yeah,
Yeah, I got a lot of
we did
praise.
a big printing. It sold out. We went
Hmm.
back and did a reprinting, and it's just held it's held its fan base and its interest,
Hmm.
and now the trade's been out just for a couple weeks. It's been doing great.
Hell yeah.
So and yeah, we're really excited for the chance to tell more of the story of this family of immortal Vikings. So we'll be coming back with another chapter, another arc of the series later, probably very end of summer, early fall. So
Hmm.
we're really excited.
And I guess what's cool is that this is not, I mentioned listening to your last episode from 2017, and in that episode, I could hear the excitement coming off of you that at the time, like Eclipse had got extended out past whatever four or five
Yeah.
issues, and then Port of Earth, I think ended up running much longer than you anticipated. Now you've got Kill All Immortals being extended. How far ahead do you plan for stories? Like, I guess in this case for Kill All Immortals, did you have more than 5 issues planned? Like, I guess like do extensions like that ever catch you by surprise, or are you always like kind of prepared?
So I learned my lesson, I think. I mean, like, I learned I feel like I cut my teeth on Eclipse and Port of Earth, and I learned the exact way to do this. And I'm very proud of Eclipse and Port of Earth, but I was definitely finding my way through the transitions of ongoing from miniseries to 2 arcs to 3 arcs. So it required a lot more work, and now I'm able to do more of that work at the onset. And so, yeah, I do think at the onset, okay, this is the miniseries, this is the first arc. I mean, but then where is this going, and how am I setting up for that? And so yeah, we definitely tried to set it up so that it could stand on its own,
Hmm.
but we had always thought, I mean, I had not taken on a series since Port of Earth that I thought had legs to be an ongoing until Kill All Immortals. Everything that I've done prior to this, I knew it was a miniseries from the very get-go.
Wow.
And there was really no I mean, Join the Future, I might have taken more if there had been a strong enough reaction, but really everything else I did was really contained to miniseries. But Kill All Mortals, I felt like being this action heroine and having this family dynamic, and just seeing the breadth of the world that we could explore.
Hmm.
From the onset, we said, okay, here's the first chapter of this. But if anyone's read it, there's a giant cliffhanger at the end of the first arc that tells you exactly where the series is going to go next. And
Yeah.
I won't say any more, but we definitely knew where it was going. And I mean, at this point, I'm definitely thinking out a couple
Hmm.
arcs, about where it can go. But I think what makes it easier to do is not just thinking about what challenges she faces or what the conflicts are that are to come, but thinking about her character and kind of where is she ultimately heading, and kind of what's the story, what's that longer story of
Hmm.
seeing her change and evolve. I don't like stories, if it's going to be long form and it's going to be a story that kind of goes on, I really want to see a character kind of change and evolve and get tested. I
Yeah.
don't like to see something where it's just the same over and over again. So, that's for me the most fun, is to write a character that by the end of it you go, wow, look at who she's become. What an amazing journey. What an emotionally thrilling journey to watch.
Yeah, you brought up on that topic. I think character evolution is something that um, I think we see it more in creator-owned stories, miniseries, things that have like kind of a definite end. We don't see that. I think we see that a lot. We do see that in the big two and like some of these huge superhero properties, but it's always going back to like status quo. And so that being said, I think character evolution is refreshing when we do get it in a comic book. You brought up Invincible, and I think that's one of my favorite parts about it is
Yeah.
that Kirkman and team had that end goal in mind. So we really got to see a lot of the character evolutions like stick, because it is like, hey, this is coming to an end. So it's natural that the character is evolving and he's reacting to the things that, these big moments that he's going through. And yeah, and I'm excited to see how Frey evolves in the next series. Zach, I want to ask though, what is your favorite part about the comic making process, and what's your least favorite part?
I think my favorite part is definitely the collaboration with the
Hmm.
artists. I mean, you know, send in a script and then they bring it back. Every comic creator is different, and I think there are some comic creators that just send in the script and they're done. I really aspire to try to find the best page possible. So
Hmm.
like I'm really engaged with the artists, and I work best with artists who are engaged with me. And so collaborating on layouts and collaborating on these moments, and then just seeing it come to life, collaborating on colors, a scene comes in and say, can we make this more noir? Can we make this darker? This character is feeling really, down or on edge. Can we make this more claustrophobic?
Hmm.
And then giving them direction and not, letting them bring their own talents to a moment. That's really kind of, that's the best. It's just the best. And seeing artwork in your inbox is the best. Seeing it all come together. Covers, working with cover artists on great covers. That's all the best. I mean, in terms of it's I think just the multitasking is a real grind.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know that people realize, as a comic creator, you're doing everything from, marketing and paying, and there's just a ton of stuff to
Hmm.
do that's not creative. And I love the creative stuff. So I'm a very business minded person, and I do the business stuff very well. Looking at contracts, working out, everything else that goes through it all. But like that stuff is not the fun stuff. The fun stuff's
Yeah.
making a great story.
I was on that topic. I was going through your Instagram, just looking for anything that might like speak, that might
Yeah,
make for a good question. And really, what I got out of it was, man, this dude is always doing book signings. I'm like, this guy travels a lot, and he's always doing book signings. Meet the authors. You're at
I
you're at a lot of
try.
conventions. Um, and I mean, it kind of goes back to the first time we met, that Hall of Heroes convention. I imagine by now you probably have a couple hundred convention appearances or signings underneath your belt. Is there any one particular, or however many come to mind? Is there any one, I guess, like convention memory that comes to mind that really sticks out to you? Maybe it was like an interaction with a fan, or meeting one of your favorite creators at a convention, or having an interaction.
Well, meaning I'll tell you one thing, that I tabled next to Chris Claremont, which was a trip,
Legend.
because I just got to hear him tell X-Men stories for the whole weekend. I was like
Yeah.
right next to him, like there he is, and I mean, I couldn't help when I was, I couldn't help but just listen to those stories. So that was pretty awesome to get to listen to 2 or 3 days of Chris Claremont stories. I mean, as far as a fan goes, I think it was New York Comic Con. Probably my first New York Comic Con was maybe 2017. And now my last one, I just did it in 24. So I've been doing it, like 7 or 8 years. My first one, there was, I think, had to be like an 11-year-old kid or a 12-year-old kid, a boy. He came up and picked up one of my comics. I mean, it was probably Eclipse. Next year, and he was with his mom and his family. Next year he came. He's 13 or
Oh, that's
whatever.
cool.
Picked up another one. Next year he came. He picked up another one. Next year he came. Every year he come and find me and pick up another one. Here I'm watching him get older and older. Just this last year, his mom comes. He's not with her. He's in college, but he sends her. She's got a list of what he needs to pick up from my table. I mean, that's special.
That is awesome. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know how you bottle that up. Like, that's just crazy to be able to connect with a fan, a reader like that who is so into your work that they come back and pretty much read everything you write and again and again, and I watch them grow up, as a reader of my work. Like, I don't know, that's pretty special. That's pretty cool. That was a pretty cool one.
No, that's awesome, and I think I'm gonna use that as a setup to transition into one of my favorite parts of doing any creator interviews, and that's the ability to like kind of bridge the gap between you, who puts their that puts their blood, sweat, and tears into making said comic, with someone that puts equal blood, sweat, and tears into selling comics. And he's also maybe one of your biggest fans out there. He's not a college kid; he's a lot older than a college age. But it's Ben Kingsbury. He's the owner of my favorite comic shop, the sponsor of this year's show, Gotham City Limit. And I got to give Ben props because Ben is a fantastic supporter, sponsor of the show. I couldn't ask for a better, advocate and champion of the show. And we've gone on like 5-6 years of this partnership. And what I love about Ben is that he's, he'll give me ideas. He'll throw out guests. He'll kind of keep me in the loop in terms of like, finger on the pulse. And I don't remember if it was Kill All Immortals or Beyond Real. It was one of those. But I go in and he's like, dude, you have to read. I want to say it was Kill All Immortals. You got to pick this up. Zack Kaplan. He's the truth, this and that. And I don't think he knew that I know you. I've had you on the show. And I'm like, oh, I know Zack. He's like, get the fuck out of here, dude. He's like my favorite writer. So he was very ecstatic knowing that we were able to get this set up. And he sent in a question. So I'm going to play it for you here.
Hey, Zach, Ben K, representing Gotham City Limit in sunny Jacksonville, Florida. Thanks so much for taking some time to be here. Well, if anybody comes to Gotham City Limit, they've probably been recommended a Zack Kaplan title at one point or another, especially from me. I mean, your more recent Metal Society, the little mini-series, Robots and Humans and Fist Fights is an easy sell, and Kill All Immortals. Man, that had some twists and turns that I was not expecting. However, one of my top 10 favorite stories of all time to this day is still Horde of Earth. I think at one point I heard that maybe there was a TV show in production. Fingers crossed. Is there any truth to that? And then also, do you have any plans ever to revisit that Horde of Earth universe? Well, I'll leave you here to answer. Thanks so much for making amazing comics. We literally couldn't do it without you. If you ever make it over to this neck of the woods, you obviously have an open invitation to take it to our comic shop, Pandora. And remember, Short Box Nation, we'll always take it to the limit.
Big shout outs to Ben.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Ben. Thank you very much. And if I'm in town, next time I'm in town, I will absolutely try to stop
man.
by.
Yeah, come through.
I would. Yeah. Horde of Earth got picked up right out of the gate. It got picked up by Robert Kirkman, who is the creator and producer on Walking Dead and Invincible, and it got picked up by Amazon, and it's been kicking for a long time in TV development, and we paused it because we were going to do more, and I would still like to do more, but we paused it because I was basically looking at a choice, and I tell the story because I get asked this all the time.
I bet.
And I had to decide basically if I was going to do one more or if I was going to do a bunch more of Horde of Earth. They were like, you can do one more, maybe two more. Or if it goes and it
Wait,
becomes
issues or arcs?
arcs, one or two
Okay.
more. It was like, you could do one more arc, maybe one or two more arcs, but that was all that was really on the table based on where it was at in the sales and stuff. I wasn't really going to be able to take it much further. But if it became a TV show, I was going to be able to take it much further. And it was a story that I kind of had an interest in maybe going a little further with it. It's such a slow burn. And so I really wasn't sure that I wanted to just do one more and be done with it. So we paused it. Andrea Moody and I, we paused and Top Cow, we paused it and went to see how the TV development would play out. And that is still playing out, and time will tell. And so, but I have been getting the itch. So I don't know if we'll wait forever. We might get back to it. We haven't dove in just yet, but I don't think it will be too much longer. And I think, in the next 5 years or so, I would absolutely love to do more of that, however I can. So just trying to figure it out, about how much we would take on, but that is probably the only title that I've done that I would like to do more of.
Does it ever surprise you, like just how the fandom for that series? Like, what we're talking about, you're about to release your 13th comic. You've been in comics for 9 years. I get, and I'm not, and I say this fully respectfully, it's insane to me that you've released so much, and I feel like I've seen you get better and better and better.
Thank
Kill
you.
All Immortals is it's top tier. So I'm looking forward to see what you do with Masterminds. I guess, is it ever surprising to be like, damn, I really came out the gate with this great idea that it had Robert Kirkman sign on, that's got, people still bring it up. I guess, is it ever that surprising to be like, damn, my first work?
It's surreal. I mean, yeah, well, Eclipse got picked up too right out of the gate. So, and then Lost City Explorers got picked
That's
up.
just how Jack's boys do, man.
It was surreal. But the thing I've learned, I mean, listen, things get optioned and picked up by movie studios or TV studios for development, but in terms of how they get developed or when they get developed or if they get developed, that is a different road. And I have yet to have a show made. I have several in development. But and knock on wood, I'm optimistic that it will happen one day. But there's a lot of craziness that goes on in the kitchen, and development is it's an up and down road. And I think Hollywood go through so many, there's strikes, there's they get economic concerns that hit them hard. There's all sorts of crazy things that go on in this town, and so it's super exciting. And I think that back in the day it was super exciting, but I try to be a little more
cautiously optimistic.
No, more realistic, more realistic. That it's exciting when a project gets optioned and picked up for development, but it's a whole nother road and a whole nother process. So I hope that one goes. I hope that many go. I'm optimistic that it will happen one day, but I'm not sure which one. And it's a everyone hears the news every drop, but then back in here, back on the it's a different thing. So it would be really fun for that to happen, but I don't focus on that. I'm focused on trying to make great comics. I'm focused on trying to elevate my game and have the next comic. Hearing, that Ben is recommending my books and making everybody who comes into Gotham read my books. That's awesome. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make books that are undeniable. Like, you have to read this. I'm trying to continue to make just great, original stories. So,
and I think that's the cool part, is that you haven't let, this fame get to your head. You're not letting I'm the guy that's got, his comic is option for this. Don Cheadle's, picked this up. I think it shows in the work and the output that it seems for you, it's like, okay, this was great. Let's not rest on our laurels. Let's, come back with another, another banger, another, let me, like you said, let me up my game. And I think, I'm looking through the bibliography, and it's like, damn, yeah. I guess it's interesting to meet Zack Kaplan fans because I like hearing what's their favorite. You know, like
Sure.
I would tell you, I think Kill All Immortals is probably my favorite. The Midnight, I need to finish the Midnight Shadows before I say it, but I feel like this might be one of my favorites of yours as well.
That's a
But
good
to
one.
hear like Ben say that, Metal Society, it's kind of like, well, what's your favorite Zack Kaplan? It's like almost asking someone like, hey, what's your favorite
Sure.
Tarantino movie, right? Like a lot you can glean a lot from someone's favorite like Tarantino movie. Which one's your favorite?
Well,
I think
they're
it's
all
cool.
very different. I mean,
Hmm.
I do different. Like, it's
Yeah,
ironic because it's all sci-fi, but like join the future sci-fi Western mindset, like
Hmm.
grounded sci-fi thriller, totally different energies. Like one's small, one's big, like the Port of Earth, Kill All Mortals, totally different.
Hmm.
So, I mean, Kill All Mortals is as character led as I feel like I've done. Like just boom. And Port of Earth was like the opposite. Like we did this fun thing where like you're following everything almost like you're watching it unfold on the news, like it was like we had news interviews and everything's told kind of like found footage style,
Mhm.
like you're following those characters. And so it was distancing, but interesting in a very different way.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly trying different things. So I can understand why people go, oh, which one's your favorite? Or I like this one. This is like when I'm at a convention and people come up and they're like, what should I read? I'm like, what do you like? It's all, I love all my children. They're all different. Like, I don't have any favorites. But I'm trying to like Kill All Mortals was my first return to ongoing, and there's a couple ideas that I have kicking that might be more
Hmm.
ongoings to come, and I'm interested in kind of balancing it out, and not just having all
Yeah.
miniseries, and trying to, yeah, follow in the footsteps of Kirkman in the sense of telling a story like Invincible. I don't know that I'll go 100 issues or 150 issues with anything, um, but telling stories that go on a little longer and give
Yeah.
readers a little bit more of something to explore and enjoy.
That's awesome. And I think what keeps I mean, you mentioned it. I think what keeps your comics fresh is that yeah, you could probably put them you could definitely probably put them underneath the sci-fi umbrella, but it's like different flavors. I mean,
Totally.
and the range of topics and stories you've tackled. I mean, I think there's a reason why you're advertised as like the hard sci-fi comic guy. Your stories have range in topics from black holes, alien encounters, environmental destruction, lost cities, secret societies, simulation theory, and like all these other awesome sci-fi topics. This is probably a weird question, but do you read a lot of or consume a lot of science fiction like literature or media? Like, do you read scientific journals or follow professors or lectures? I feel
It's
like
all it's all 30-second reels now. It's all Neil deGrasse Tyson giving me my or Michio Kaku giving me my 30 seconds as I
huh.
doom scroll. But yeah, the algorithms know that I like all things futuristic and science fiction, and
Hmm.
I like to know what's going on, with quantum physics, and I like to know what's going on with robots, and I like to know what's going on with anything, plastics in our brain, and the garbage island that's floating somewhere in the Pacific, that I like all that stuff. So I'm fascinated by our ever-changing world, and I'm fascinating about which way we're going and if we're gonna survive it all. So yeah.
Well said. All right, I want to shift gears and talk about the new series coming out later this August. It's called Masterminds. It finds you teaming up once again with Stephen Thompson, who is the
Yes.
artist in the Midnight Shadows. Let me take a pause right there. Um, what brought you back with Steve? I mean, I feel like I know the answer. He's a great freaking artist, but what brought you back with Stephen Thompson on Masterminds? And I guess what can we expect from Masterminds? What's the elevator pitch?
Yeah, the elevator pitch for Masterminds is there's a real thing called a mastermind circle. It's a secret group of very powerful individuals who agree to work together by any means necessary to make sure that everybody in the group succeeds. This is about the smartest mastermind circle, a secret society called Masterminds. And they're inviting everybody to come join and see if they can, if they're smart enough to become a mastermind, to join this society. And it's a very much like a noir thriller about a young man that's finds himself auditioning and initiating to see if he can make it through a series of games and challenges. And it's a very modern exploration of secret societies, and very much, I think, leaning into just kind of the cutthroat nature that we seem to. I think there's certain norms in society that have shifted and evolved, and hard work and good ethics don't seem to be enough anymore. Everyone's rolling up their sleeves and willing to throw some elbows to get ahead in the world. And so this is kind of exploring some of those things that have gone on in society. Like, what are you willing to do to succeed? And we're having a lot of fun with kind of the meta exploration of letting readers see if they can follow some pretty fun, clever challenges and riddles and things as they read Masterminds. And we'll be sharing a few of those, I think, probably as we talk about the book before it comes out. I had just such a great experience with Steven and Thiago on Thiago Roca, who's the same colorist as Kill All Immortals, but he did the Midnight Shadows with us, and we just had such a great synergy. And I think Steven and I really love a certain kind of cinematic storytelling in comics, finding a way to use the comics form, but in a really cinematic way. And we just clicked. And I have not worked with too many artists for a second time over. In fact, I think Steven might be the first artist that I've come back to work with for a second time, at least announced. But yeah, we just I knew in the middle of the Midnight, I was like, we're doing another book after this. Also because the Midnight was a collaboration with one of the largest synth wave bands in the world, the Midnight, which was an amazing experience. I was a diehard fan of the Midnight before we even did that book. But I knew that we needed to do something after that was purely 100% creator owned. So that is Masterminds. We're really excited about it. It's going to be just, and it's an interesting thing because, like, it's a noir thriller adventure. But I'm not, when Darkhorse always asks you when you're prepping a book, like, what are the comparisons? What's it like? And I had a hard time answering this question of what it was going to be like in terms of other things, other comics that have come out, because it's not horror, although it's got a horrific nature to it. But it's kind of very David Fincher-esque. So I think if you love David Fincher films, if you love things like Fight Club or Seven or The Game or Social Network, or any of these kinds of things, like, you'll love this book. But we were hard pressed to kind of find where it fits on the comic shelf. But we're really excited about it. It's going to be such a trip.
And if I got my count correct, I think this will either be the third or fourth book you're putting out through Darkhorse. Kill All Immortals looked like was the last one, and I want to say there was another
Breakout.
one.
We did Breakout was my first, and then the Midnight Shadows, Kill All Immortals, and now this is the fourth one.
Okay, so fourth time. So it sounds like you found a good home in partnership with Darkhorse. I guess, what is it specifically about working with Darkhorse? What is it? It sounds like the editorial is, trust your vision and sees that. What is it like working with the team at Darkhorse?
Ride or die for me for Darkhorse. I've had such a great experience with them. Editorial, Spencer Cushing has been just absolutely phenomenal. Cara O'Neill is the marketing over there. I mean, I even collaborated with Darkhorse Entertainment on a project. So just love Darkhorse. It's been great to me across the board. I think different people get along with different publishers in different ways. Different creators are looking for different things. I just work really well with everybody at Darkhorse, and I found a real niche there, and I'm excited to keep doing books there. But it's not any one thing in particular. It's just I've just enjoyed working with the people that I've teamed up with there.
I've definitely heard that sentiment echoed by other creators. So that's cool to hear that they're taking care of you. Zach, do you have any interest? I guess I feel like I know the answer, but what's the interest level for like writing for one of the big two? Because I think what's cool brag about your career, aside from being a Jax, a
Yeah.
fellow Jax guy, is that I can say he is one of the most successful, comic writers. He's, the, hard sci-fi comic book guy, and he's doing it all, creator owned. I think that is a really impressive feat, and I don't think I had really like thought about that. I mean, to your credit, you haven't really dived into the big two or done any like, big things with them. Do you have any interest in doing big two stuff? And if you could write any character or series from Marvel or DC, I guess what would it be?
I don't know. A couple years ago, I would have said, "Yeah, I'm ready. Put me in."
Hmm.
And I was. But I don't know. I mean, I think both Marvel and DC have things that they have done really well. And I'm excited to see that they've given some creators some real creative freedom, and there have been some amazing results.
Hmm.
But I've also seen
The ugly
moments,
side, yeah.
the other side, where there are creators that come in who don't get the creative freedom, who get put on the wrong book because the the person they're working with doesn't care, and they're just throwing them in the machine. And I'm not interested in that.
Hmm.
I'm not interested in being thrown into the machine. I'm interested in being championed, and I'm interested in if I was to do it, to do the right project for me and the right thing for me. And it seems so often than not that I don't know. I've heard mixed things about from experiences, so I'm cautious. So I don't say never. I'd definitely be open to it, but it'd have to be the right editor, and it'd have to be the right project, and it'd have to be an interest in the stories that I'm telling. Because I'm not really interested in telling someone else's story when I can tell my own, and when I can tell more Kill All Immortals or something, my next Kill All Immortals or something else, or Masterminds. I think I'd rather keep doing that. But never say never. I mean, I think I fundamentally like stories that have consequence and causality to them,
Hmm.
and so if there was an opportunity to tell a story that had those things, that got to see, I like cerebral characters or moral characters that are tested, that are challenged by the things they think about the world. And I like to look at characters trying to find their way in a world gone mad, because I think our world is going mad. I think
Hmm.
I've thought that for a decade. I just think futurism is rushing at us too fast, and we're getting lost in the shuffle. And how do we make sense of this? So if it was an opportunity to explore the themes and the things that I geek out on, absolutely. But there's also a lot of characters that I'm not right for.
Hmm.
I shouldn't be writing Spider-Man. I shouldn't be. I don't know that I should be writing Superman. Like there's certain things I shouldn't be writing. So
Yeah, I love the honesty, and I think I might have found the sound bite for this episode. And I think that's something I really do respect about you, Zach, is that you're out here carving your own path, and you're getting the success and acclaim, rightfully so, for the work that you do. And I guess with that being said, as a writer, a creator, carving his own path with his creator-owned titles, and of fighting for telling your story and your vision unfiltered, what advice do you have for aspiring writers? When you think back to 9 years ago, Zack Kaplan, if Eclipse just kind of breaking in, is there anything that you would tell him or someone in that situation? What piece of advice would you give to like maybe make their life easier as they're trying to break in and still like hold on to their integrity and their stories?
Well, I think the thing about anybody who's trying to write their own stories and they're trying to break in, I think one of the core things that all those writers deal with at the onset is frustration. The frustration of not getting it quick enough, not seeing it happen soon enough, the
Hmm.
grind at the beginning level. I mean, I'm at the grind in the middle level, but at the beginning, it's brutal. And I think that that's because they don't realize how long it takes. And I think you have to understand how long this thing takes, because sometimes it can take a couple of years just to get one project out, everything from contracts to finding an artist and an art team. The pitch process can take months and months and months and months. This all takes so long. And so I think if you're looking at this and you're thinking, I want to be a creator, I want to tell my own stories in comics, in movies, a podcaster, whatever, and you're like, all right, I'm counting in months, or I'm counting in a year or two, I really don't think you're thinking long enough. I think you really have to think longer. You have to dig in your heels. You have to stay grounded, figure out a way that you can do it longer, be willing to go longer if it makes sense. But like, it can easily take 5 years to have that big break. And it's not a straight shot up once you have a big break. It's hills and valleys, and you got to keep at it and keep hustling. So I think having patience and believing in yourself, independent of the circumstances of the industry and the events around you. You have to kind of go, I believe in myself. I have something to say. I'm going to obviously hone my craft. I'm going to try to get as good as I can. I'm going to research and improve, what I do. I'm going to learn. I'm not just going to stagnate, but alternatively, don't get impeded or shut down by all the no's and all the delays and all that stuff. You just have to believe. You have to be so delusional that you believe no matter what, because that's the whole thing. The whole thing is this war between you and the universe, and the universe is telling you no, and you have to say, I don't believe you. I'm sorry, I don't believe you. I believe what I believe, and I'm going to, sadly, now there are lots of delusional people that maybe shouldn't be, but then suddenly they can break through and they should be. So that is the like, whether you should or you shouldn't, the only way to get through is to just keep believing in yourself. So that's kind of what, and then go do it. Don't let, I don't have a publisher, I don't have an artist, I don't have this, I don't have it. Just go. Just start making something. Start small. Don't do your opus right off start small, but just start doing something and start and then keep going.
That is so well.
It sounds dumb and simple, but like it's like that's what you need to do. Yeah.
I mean, look, if anything, you're a walking embodiment of it, Zach. I think that was well said, and I want to end it. I think I want to end it on that high note and say, ladies and gents, this is the Short Box Podcast, and we just finished talking to Zack Kaplan about his life, career, and the upcoming projects that he's working on, like Kill All Immortals, and Mindset, which is coming out through. I'm sorry, let me say that again. And ladies and gents, this is the Short Box Podcast, and we just finished talking to Zack Kaplan about his life, career, and upcoming projects like another run of Kill All Immortals and Mastermind, which is coming out through Darkhorse Comics in August. I think the final order cutoff is like July 20th something. Regardless, go to your comic shop, tell them that you want to put the series on your pull list. That's Mastermind. I'll have links to the previews for his upcoming projects and links to where you can follow Zack on social media, link in this episode show notes. Check it out. Zack, you've been fantastic. I think it's safe to say this might be the best episode that we've done.
Wonderful.
It's awesome to have years of refinement and both of us getting better at our craft.
Indeed.
Do you have any parting words or shameless plugs before we wrap up?
No, I'll see you next time. See you next year for the next batch. Making more comics. We'll talk next time.
There we go. Mic drop. Thank you.